me when I say this. See, some of us are still chasing the bag when we should be chasing after God. Because I promise you, if you chase after God, that bag gonna chase you. Do you hear me? I was sitting here reading in Hosea 11, and it talks about when God, it says, when Israel was a child, I loved him and I called him my son out of Egypt. And see what they did, what Israel did, they began to go back into making sacrifices, burning incense, and doing things before the Lord that was not right. See, they were doing these to idols and images that weren't of God. See, the only thing that God wanted them to do was go over there and just listen to the instruction of Moses, because Moses was getting his instructions directly from the Lord. Okay, so that's all they really had to do. So when it comes to us, some people, I'm gonna say some people, okay, some people are out here have made themselves slaves to men, because what they're doing is they're not chasing after the will of God, or they're not doing what God has called them to do. Instead, they're going to chase the bag to try to do what man wants to see them do, to make themselves look good. Do you hear me? I'm trying to tell you. Let me give you an example. Okay, let's just say that you were a blogger and you were blogging about God and you were trying to get people to come to God through that, and that was the will that God wanted for you. But your people like, baby, that ain't it. That ain't gonna make you no money. They telling you all this because that's how the enemy does. He uses the people around you to tell you lies that God ain't gonna supply for you because you're doing that. So then you go to a place of like, okay, well, let me go get a real job, okay? Because they telling you this ain't a real job. So you gonna go get a real job, but now you're outside the will of God, and that's not gonna carry you anywhere. You're gonna be chasing the bag instead of the bag chasing you. Do you hear me? So listen to me. It's best, it says that song by Kiki Shear says, the safest place in the whole wide world is to be in the will of God. I'd rather be in the will of God, so I won't have to chase nothing that man has. Because listen, that money ain't ours anyway. What did God say? He says, pay to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. That money belongs to Caesar, okay? We ain't got time for that. We want the money and the blessings that come from the Most High, because what the Lord gives, no man can take away. Do you hear me? No man can put asunder. No man can do any of that, because when God gives it to you, it's set in stone, and that's on period. I'm trying to tell y'all. So hear me when I say this. It ain't no reason for you to be sitting here trying to do what every man, every other woman, every other person is doing. Do what God is calling you to do, because I promise you, it's gonna make you blessed and better than blessed. It's gonna be making you abundant and more abundant. I'm telling you, because God gives us life more abundantly. He brings us peace that surpasses all understanding when we're walking in his will. And I'd rather for myself be in the will of God than to be in the will of man. I'm telling y'all. So don't become slaves like Israel did. They became slaves of Assyria. We're gonna become blessings and workers of God. Okay, period.